Stat 7 Sports. We are finally back with another episode of the Warehouse Chronicles, and finally we have one of the big three coming back, with Major League Baseball's opening day being today, where everyone's finally excited for baseball to be back. Really, pretty much everyone besides Detroit, but really Detroit's can't be too excited on any of their sports this year. Detroit's expected to be the worst team in baseball. The Pistons aren't going to be back for the bubble in Orlando next week. And then you have the Lions, who they're expected to be last or third place in the NFC North. So, and if you actually include the Detroit Red Wings in hockey, then it's kind of the same way. You don't really, they're not going back to their 2014 playoff that's coming in the NHL. So, not really too much to be excited in that. But for everyone else, we've finally been able to get around all the positive cases, everything going on with COVID. For baseball, they had a combined 56, roughly, positive tests that's come on since everyone started to come back into the bubble and into Major League Baseball, all their respective camps and all of that. We are going to get to where all these games are going to start today with the World Series champs Washington Nationals hosting the expected World Series champs of this year, New York Yankees. And you also get the LA Dodgers being the other team in the NL, expected to make the World Series against the San Francisco Giants. So, but when you actually go on that first matchup, the first one being, you're going to have Garrett Cole against Max Scherzer. The big thing on that, yes, baseball's back, but it's also the fact that on the back of the mound, Major League Baseball has said that they're going to, at least for this game, be putting a Black Lives Matter logo on the back of the mound for this game. So while it's gonna be on live TV, anyone can end up seeing that, and just to show that baseball's going with the movement. So with everyone else, you have 56 positive cases. Most of them, it was early on in the set of training camps for all Major League teams, so most of them have gotten back to their teams, between DJ LeMahieu, Freddie Freeman, Charlie Blackmon, Salvador Perez, Kenley Jansen, Aroldis Chapman, Miguel Sano, amongst others. Mostly every team had one or two players that tested positive initially, but they're back to normal. You also had 13 players decide to opt out for the season. Biggest names being Buster Posey, Ryan Zimmerman, Felix Hernandez, David Price, and so on and so forth. So with that, there's certain players saying it's not worth it to play. Before early on, whenever they had the initial thoughts on it, you thought you're going to get like Blake Snell, you could have gotten Bryce Harper, Trevor Bauer, and a few other names that were definitely against trying to come back at this point, especially with what was going down. But we've got it through the 60-game season. For every team to have their home and away games, really, except the Blue Jays right now. Toronto has not been allowed to have any of their home games in Canada. They're not allowed to go back to Canada. So their ideas for trying to get to where, for them to have their 30 home games on the season, they initially tried to go in Pittsburgh on it to be able to basically split home games there, and Pittsburgh's denied it. Now as of today, they're trying to get with Baltimore to be able to split some of the home games. Then we'll end up seeing how that goes. But as of this point, basically 8 days before Toronto has their first home game, they don't have a home stadium to play at. Now, for ones that actually have, that are going to be wanting to play at home very often and wanting to stay where they're at very often, you have the second highest contract in Major League Baseball history, where you have Mookie Betts signing, after being traded to the Dodgers from the Red Sox, getting a 12-year, $365 million deal, second only to Mike Trout, where both of them seem like most people would see them as the top two players in Major League Baseball right now, and deservingly so of their contracts, especially the top two hitters. Now, going on to the season off of it, we do a lot of the projections on it, you don't really have that much of a win-loss difference between a lot of these teams. Like, the biggest difference is Yankees are expected to win 38 games, Detroit's expected to win 20. So, really, only an 18-game difference. Yes, I understand it's a shortened season. Yes, I understand that it means towards the latter part of the year, there's going to be a lot more teams trying to fight for playoff positions. But unlike the NFL, as of this point, they have not said there's going to be any more additions to postseason members. At this point, it's still 10. But they're trying to set up a motion to be able to get, just for this season, a 16-team postseason, where a lot of those win projections can be a bit more expected, as every team's going to be fighting for it. So, because we have it basically in the last week of July that Major League Baseball is starting, the trade deadline that would normally be set up at the last day of July has been pushed back to the last day of August, on August 31st. So, we have a little more than a month, still basically going to be about mid-season. That's going to be the trade deadline, a little bit further after that. So, I'm not sure exactly how many games it'll be in, but yeah, roughly 30 to 35 games in, my guess. Now, for my projections on what I expect everyone, like division winners, wild card, and all of that, AL East, the Yankees are stacked. They have one of the best offenses and best pitching staff, especially adding Garrett Cole to their team. They get a bunch of their young roster between Gleyber Torres. They still have Stanton. They still have Judge. They still have Ameyu. They still have Gregorius. They still have Gary Sanchez, including with their bullpen, which is still stacked. They're still going to win. They'll win the division this year and kind of start setting the guard back to where it's like in the 90s, to where Yankees going probably for more than a few years in this decade to be able to win the division. So 2020 seemed to be a very Yankee-heavy playoff. So, outside of that, you'll probably end up getting Tampa Bay to be the wild card, and don't be surprised if the Red Sox just aren't even in it at all. Blue Jays are still young. They still have a bunch of players where it's like it's sons of former baseball stars. Bo Bichette, son of Dante Bichette, Kevin Biggio, son of Craig Biggio, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., son of Vlad Guerrero. So they're still real young, really the second year of their true rebuild, but they could end up challenging for a wild card potentially. And then the Orioles, sorry Baltimore, you are waiting for the NFL to start so you can see Lamar Jackson. Everyone knows that. At this point, you don't have Buck Showalter that's helping you out, so y'all are going to struggle. So, Yankees, Rays, that's 2 of the 5. Division winners, Central and West, it's still going to end up being, it'll be the Twins this year finally overtaking the Indians off of it. Kind of for good. The Indians kind of ran out of their steam of the late 2010s, just winning year after year after year, and for the past couple years, Twins surprised 2 years ago, being a strong contender, barely missed out of the playoffs. Last year they made it, they won the division, even though they didn't go anywhere with it. This year they should be able to build off of that and win the division itself and potentially steal a playoff series. The Indians probably have a good shot of actually making the postseason still, but a lot of their key pieces are getting older, so I'd actually say they'll probably miss out. Then White Sox, Royals, Tigers still in a rebuilding phase. Yeah, as I was saying, Detroit. Yes, you have 3 former LSU players on your 60-man roster between Jacoby Jones, Alex Lang, Zach Hess. Congrats to all of them. But 2 of those were kind of late additions that most people didn't expect. So that's kind of, it pretty much feels like you're getting people off the street at this point. But with respect to them, I hope they do well as relievers. But going to AL West, you get the other 2 teams that I expect to end up making the playoffs. It's not going to be much of a surprise. despite all the sign stealing scandals that they're going to have to deal with and all the beating they're going to deal with, it's going to kind of feel lessened for the fact that the pandemic's kind of made this a less of an issue off of it. Maybe not less of an issue, but it feels like it goes in the back burner in a way. But the Astros the Astros are still loaded. They don't have Cole anymore, but they're still very strong overall in offense, and their pitching is top notch. So they lose Will Harris, they lose Cole. Pitching takes a hit, but still very solid. The Athletics made the playoffs last year. They should make it in again as well. Between them and the Indians are going to be the top two for that last wild card spot. Probably Rays Athletics for that wild card matchup, depending on if it stays at 10 or if it goes to 16. Now, the Angels could be a surprise team on it for the fact that they get Rendon and they finally get someone on their offense that's not entirely Mike Trout led. So they could be a surprise team with the Blue Jays on it. So those are two sleeper Blue Jays, Angels, two sleepers. Indians and Red Sox will miss out. Now we'll go with the NL. Everyone thought that the Braves were going to be a year away off of it last year to win the division. They surprised them, actually won it. Yeah, the Nationals win the World Series on it. They're going to still be solid because of their pitching staff, and it's going to keep them to where they'll at least get a wild card spot. But I still think Braves are going to end up building off of last season. They're young, but they have another year experience where they should have won the playoff series against the Cardinals last year, but then kind of blew wide open their Game 4 and Game 5 against St. Louis, and they should be a contender. They should be probably the second best contender in the NL. Nationals still make the playoffs through their pitching, and Phillies might actually make it as well because Harper and Nola should have better seasons after slow starts on both ends. In the NL Central, you have 4 teams that could end up making the playoffs. Any 4 of these teams going to do it. Cardinals, Cubs, Brewers. That's how it's been the last couple years. Cardinals always seem to be around. The Cubs, they're kind of going on the upper echelon of the age limit to where you actually have any contenders being able to win the division. And the Brewers, I don't really know what to think on them, but they're still going to be competitive in the Central. The only one really in the Central that's not going to be a factor, and more than likely will be the Pirates. And at this point, you have the Reds being a trendy pick to actually win that division and be a strong team in the NL, getting Nick Castellanos to third. They get Mike Moustakas, going to be the second baseman to help Votto amongst the rest of that team. But I'd still say probably a year away. It wouldn't surprise me if they prove me wrong, but I go with the standard bearers. Give St. Louis that series, that division. And then the easiest division overall, the NL West. Dodgers are going to run away with it. I'm surprised they don't have any teams that are expected to get over 40 wins. With the Dodgers signing Betts, the big deal, getting him through a trade with Kershaw, with Jansen, with Bellinger. The list just goes on. They're loaded. They're going to be the favorites in the NL. Yankees will be the favorite in the AL. I will say, yeah, it seems fairly straightforward if I would end up going saying Dodgers, Yankees in the World Series. But they're the ones that have put out the most money. They've gone over their salary cap by loads. And at this point, it seems Dodgers, Yankees World Series seems kind of set in stone. Hopefully I'm told wrong and something different happens. I like a surprise. But thank y'all for watching. If y'all enjoy this, please like, subscribe, share it out to other people. And if y'all have any other content you want me to talk about in the future or any questions y'all have, please leave that in the description down below. But with that all being said, y'all stay safe in the pandemic. Mask up. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.